Porchlight History for Sleep. Episode 1. What everyday life was really like in the 1890s South Carolina Lowcountry. Good evening, and welcome to Porchlight History. You don't need to do anything now. You don't need to remember any of this. There will be no test, and nothing important will happen suddenly. This is just a long, slow walk through an ordinary time, in an ordinary place, told quietly while you rest. Tonight we're going back a little more than 130 years to the 1890s, to the low, flat, tidal country along the coast of South Carolina. The Lowcountry, a place of salt marsh and pine woods, of small farms and slow rivers, of oyster beds and cotton fields and long, humid afternoons. If you fall asleep in the middle of a sentence, that's fine. That's the idea. The story will keep going without you, softly, and the music will carry on after the story ends. So settle in. Let your shoulders sink. Unclench your jaw. Let the day you just had drift off somewhere behind you. And imagine, now, that it is very early in the morning, in the summer of 1894, on a small farm a few miles inland from the sea. Part 1. Before the sun. The house is quiet, and the world outside is dark, but it is not silent. It is never silent here. Out beyond the yard, the night insects are still going, a steady, layered hum that has been running all night long, so constant that nobody in the house hears it anymore. Somewhere down toward the creek, a chuckwill's widow calls its own name over and over, patient as a clock. The air coming through the open window is thick and soft, and smells faintly of pine resin, wood smoke, and the marsh. The house itself is small. 4 rooms, maybe 5, built of heart pine, standing up off the ground on brick or wooden piers so the air can move underneath and the floodwater, when it comes, can pass through without taking the house with it. Nearly every house in this country stands on legs like this. The space underneath belongs to the dogs, and the chickens, and the cool shade. There is no electricity in this house. There is no electricity for miles. In the whole state, only a few city blocks in Charleston and Columbia have ever seen an electric light. Out here, night is genuinely dark, the kind of dark most of us have never really known, and morning begins not with an alarm, but with a rooster and with habit. In the back room, the farmer wakes before first light, the way he has woken his whole life. He doesn't need to be told the time. His body knows it. He lies still for a moment in the warm dark, listening. The rooster again. The soft breathing of the house. Then he swings his feet down onto the pine floorboards, worn smooth as soap by years of bare feet, and he gets up. The first task of every single day, in every house in this country, rich or poor, is fire. In the kitchen, which in many houses stands a few steps away from the main house, in its own small building, so the heat and the danger of it stay out of the bedrooms. The woman of the house is already at the stove. She rakes back the ashes from last night, finds the few coals still holding their heat, deep orange under the gray, and feeds them fat pine splinters, what folks here call lightered, fat lighter, rich lightwood. It catches with a soft rush. She lays on split oak, adjusts the damper, and the stove begins its long day's work. A wood stove is not an appliance. It is a member of the household. It has moods. It has a temperament. She knows this stove the way you know a person, knows which lid runs hot, knows how the draft pulls when the wind is out of the northeast, knows the exact sound it makes when it's ready. There is no dial and no thermometer. There is only her hand, held inside the oven for a count of seconds, and 40 years of knowing. While the stove wakes up, water has to come in. There is no faucet. Water lives outside, in the well in the yard, or in the cistern that catches rain off the roof. Someone, usually one of the children, still half asleep, takes the bucket out into the blue-gray dark, lets it down, hears the far-off slap of it hitting the water, and hauls it up hand over hand. 2 buckets. 3. Water for coffee, water for the wash pan, water for the stove's reservoir. Every drop of water this family will use today will be carried by somebody, and by evening, dozens of gallons will have crossed that yard. Nobody thinks of this as hardship. It is simply what morning is. By now there is gray light in the east over the pines. The farmer is out at the barn lot. The mule hears him coming and shifts her weight in the dark. Everything on this farm, the plowing, the hauling, the trip to town, runs on that mule, and so she eats before anyone else does. Corn in the trough, a check of her hooves, a hand run along her neck. A good mule in the 1890s is worth more than almost anything else the family owns, and she is treated accordingly. The cow gets milked while the light comes up, the farmer's forehead resting against her warm flank, the milk hissing into the pail in a steady rhythm, the barn cats appearing out of nowhere, the way they do, to sit at a polite distance and wait. Chickens let out, eggs gathered, still warm, into an apron. Hogs slopped down at the pen at the edge of the woods. And now the smell of the morning changes, because in the kitchen, breakfast is underway. Part 2. The table. Breakfast in the Lowcountry in the 1890s is not a bowl of something quick. It is a meal, because the morning's work is long and heavy, and there is no snacking through it. There are grits, of course. Always grits. Ground from the family's own corn, taken by a wagon to the neighborhood grist mill, where the miller keeps a share as his fee. The grits cook slow in an iron pot with water and salt, and they ask to be stirred, and someone stirs them. There are biscuits, made the way they are always made, flour mounded in the wooden bowl, a well pressed in the middle, lard worked in with fingers, buttermilk poured by eye. No recipe was ever written down, and none was ever needed. The biscuits go into the oven the woman of the house has judged by feel, and they come out high and brown because she is never wrong about it. There is fried side meat from the smokehouse out back, where last winter's hogs hang cured in salt and smoke. There is cane syrup, thick and dark, made in the fall at a neighbor's syrup kettle, poured over everything. There are eggs from the yard. There is strong coffee, boiled in a pot, settled with a splash of cold water, poured hot into thick cups. Nearly everything on this table began within sight of it. The corn from the field beyond the fence, the pork from the pen, the eggs from under the house, the milk and butter from the cow. What the farm cannot make, coffee, flour, salt, sugar, comes from the crossroads store, bought mostly on credit against the fall crop, and it is used carefully. The family eats together, by lamplight fading into daylight. Grace is said first. It is always said first. Then the quiet business of eating, some talk of the day ahead, which field, what weather, whether the tide will be right on Saturday to go after shrimp. Listen to that for a moment, that question, because it tells you where we are. In most of farming America, in the 1890s, a family's fortunes ride on rain and frost. Here, they also ride on the tide. This is a country with 1 foot on the land and 1 foot in the salt water, and every family living close to the marsh keeps the tide table in their heads the way other people keep the days of the week. The sun is properly up now. The heat is already gathering, and the day's work begins. Part 3. The fields. Walk out from the house, past the garden fence, and stand at the edge of the field in the early light. The crop here, on the little sandy uplands between the swamps, is cotton, with corn alongside it to feed the family and the animals, and sweet potatoes and cowpeas, and sugar cane down in the damp spots. Cotton is the money. Everything else is the living. And on the sea islands nearer the coast, some farmers still grow the long, silky variety this coast was once famous for across the whole world. Sea island cotton, with fibers so long and fine it was spun into the finest fabrics money could buy. It is a proud crop and a demanding one, and the families who grow it, many of them black families farming their own land, know its ways down to the day and the inch. In June and July, the work in the cotton is chopping, which is what everyone calls hoeing. Walking the rows in the rising heat with a long-handled hoe, thinning the plants, cutting the grass and weeds away from each stalk. It is slow, and it is hot, and it never feels finished. The whole family who can hold a hoe is in the field, sunbonnets and straw hats strung out down the rows, moving at the steady, sustainable pace of people who know the day is long. The mule is out here too, pulling a sweep plow between the rows. The farmer walking behind in the fresh-turned dirt, lines over his shoulder, talking to her in the low, half-worded language that mules and men work out between themselves over the years. Gee, come up now. By the middle of the morning, the heat lies over the field like something with weight to it. The air shimmers above the rows. Locusts saw away in the tree-line. A water jug wrapped in wet burlap sits in the shade at the row's end, and everyone drinks warm water and doesn't complain about it, because warm water is what water is in July in South Carolina. There is no such thing as a weather forecast out here. There is the sky, and there is knowledge. The farmer reads clouds the way you might read a headline. He knows what a certain stillness in the afternoon means, knows the smell that comes up the rivers ahead of a storm, knows that when the marsh birds go quiet and move inland, he should think about doing the same. And that knowledge sits a little heavier these days than it used to. Because just one summer ago, in August of 1893, the sea rose up in the night in the great storm everyone here simply calls the storm. The hurricane that drowned the sea islands, took thousands of lives among the island farming families, and flattened whole settlements. Everyone in this country lost someone or knows someone who did. The people rebuilt because that is what they do, and the Red Cross came. led by Clara Barton herself, and stayed the better part of a year. But the marsh taught its lesson, and nobody here will ever fully trust a still, heavy sky in late summer again. But today there is no storm. Today there is just sun and rose and the long, patient work of a crop coming on. Part 4. The Marsh and the Water. Now leave the field for a while and walk east down the sandy 2-track road through the pines toward the smell of salt. The woods thin, the ground softens, and then the trees stop all at once, and the world opens up into one of the great sights of this earth, though nobody here would ever call it that, because it is simply home. The salt marsh. Miles of Spartina grass, green gold and moving, cut through with winding creeks of brown-green water, stretching flat away to a line of distant trees that mark the next island. The tide is falling this morning, and as it falls the marsh exhales. That smell, the one visitors wrinkle their noses at and homesick lowcountry people would pay money for, rises off the exposed banks of soft, dark mud. Pluff mud, people call it. It smells of sulfur and salt and life itself, because that is exactly what it is. That mud is one of the richest nurseries on the planet, and every family along it knows that the marsh is not scenery. The marsh is a pantry. Down at the landing, a bateau lies tipped on the bank, a flat-bottomed wooden boat, cypress-planked, built by hand, and there is a man loading it while 2 boys shove it toward the water. They're going after shrimp and mullet with a cast net. And if you have never seen a cast net thrown properly, it is worth staying to watch. The net is a circle of knotted cotton twine, weighted around its edge with lead, and the man makes it part of his body. A portion of the lead line held in his teeth or looped in his hand, the folds gathered just so over his arm, a slow turn of the shoulders, and then the whole thing sails out over the water and opens into a perfect spinning circle before it lands and sinks. He learned it from his father, who learned it from his. Some of the nets themselves are handmade, knotted through the winter evenings, and a man's net is his own the way his handwriting is his own. The creek gives what it gives. Shrimp in their season. Mullet. Spot-tail bass up in the shallows on the flood tide. Blue crabs on a chicken neck and a string, which is a job given to children, and one of the best jobs childhood here has to offer. And down on the banks at low water, the oysters, growing in gray-shelled clusters along the pluff mud, gathered by the bushel in the cold months, roasted over fires on sheets of tin with wet sacks thrown over them, eaten standing up around the fire with the whole neighborhood gathered in the smoke. Nobody along this coast with a boat and a net and the knowledge is ever truly poor in the way a dryland sharecropper can be poor. The tide comes in twice a day, and it brings groceries. On the islands and along these creeks live the communities whose people know these waters better than anyone. The Gullah people, descendants of the West Africans who were enslaved on the rice and cotton plantations of this coast, and who, in freedom, stayed and bought land where they could and built settlements of their own. Their language lives along these creeks, a Creole tongue woven from English and African languages, musical and quick, spoken at the landings and in the fields and in the praise houses on Sunday nights. Their hands make the tools of this coast, the cast nets, the bateaus, and the coiled sweetgrass baskets, sewn from marsh grass and palmetto and pine needle, in patterns carried across the ocean in memory, generations deep. Those baskets winnow rice and carry vegetables and hold sewing, and they are made so well that some of them will outlive everyone alive in this story. The tide turns, the way it always does. The bateau comes home riding low with the morning's catch. And back at the farmhouse, the sun is climbing toward the top of the sky, which means one thing to everybody in this country. Dinner. Part 5. The middle of the day. Dinner, here, is not the evening meal. Dinner is at noon, and it is the biggest meal of the day because the biggest part of the work is behind it. The field hands come in when the sun stands straight up. They wash at the basin on the back porch, cool well water over sunburned necks, and sit down to a table that the kitchen has spent all morning building. Rice, nearly always rice, this being the coast that rice built. Field peas cooked long with a piece of side meat. Cornbread, okra and tomatoes out of the garden. Sweet potatoes, maybe fried fish from the morning's cast net, rolled in cornmeal, crackling from the pan. Buttermilk, cool as the well can keep it. And then, and this may be the part of the 1890s most worth envying, nobody goes straight back to work. In the deep middle of a lowcountry summer day, from noon until 2 or so, the heat simply forbids it. Man and mule alike would break down. So the world stops. The mule stands in the shade of the barn, one hip cocked, tail swishing. The dogs flatten themselves in the cool dirt under the house. The men sit on the porch, chairs tipped back against the wall, hats over their eyes. The women, whose work does not stop as fully, still slow down, shelling peas into a basin on the porch, talking low, or not talking at all. The porch is the most important room in the house, and it isn't in the house. Life here is arranged around shade and moving air. The porch catches the river breeze if there is one. It is workshop, parlor, nursery, and news desk. From the porch you see everyone who passes on the road, and everyone who passes is spoken to. Not to speak would be a scandal. Listen to the sound of that hour. The creak of a chair. The dry rhythm of a palmetto fan. Locusts winding up and winding down in the heat. A hen muttering under the floorboards. Somewhere far off, a steamboat whistle on the river, or the long cry of a train, because the railroads have come through this country now, threading the pine woods, hauling out timber and cotton and the new spring vegetables, and hauling in the wider world. The heat breaks a little by mid-afternoon. The work takes back up in the field, at the woodpile, in the garden, and rolls on at its steady pace toward evening. But let's stay on the porch a moment longer and talk about the days that were different. Because a week here had a shape to it, and the shape mattered. Part 6. Saturday in town. Saturday afternoon, the work stops early and the family goes to town. Town might be a real town, with brick storefronts and a depot, or it might be nothing but a crossroads with a general store, a church, a cotton gin, and a blacksmith. Either way, Saturday is its day. The roads, sandy ruts through the pines, fill up with wagons and buggies and people walking, everybody in their better clothes, everybody headed the same direction. The general store is the center of the material world. Step through the door out of the glare and stand a moment while your eyes adjust and breathe it in, because a country store in 1894 has a smell no building on earth has anymore. Coffee beans and new leather, kerosene and peppermint, cheese under a glass dome, plug tobacco, brown sugar, oiled floorboards, calico cloth and bolts on the shelves. Nearly everything the farm cannot make is in this room somewhere. Flour and salt and shot, nails, harness leather, turpentine, quinine, shoes, hair ribbons, fishhooks, a barrel of crackers, and it moves, most of it, not for cash, but on credit, written down in the storekeeper's ledger in careful ink, to be settled in the fall when the cotton sells. The ledger is the true financial system of the countryside, and the storekeeper knows the state of every family's fortunes better than any banker ever could. Out on the porch and along the street, the real business of Saturday gets done, which is talk. Crops and weather and prices. Who is sick and who is better? Who is courting whom? Which is the most closely followed news of all. The children, given a penny apiece if the year is going well, face the hardest decision of their week at the candy jars. And come evening, the wagons roll home through the dusk, tired mules leaning into the harness, children asleep in the wagon bed on feed sacks, the whip-poor wheels starting up in the dark woods on either side of the road. Because tomorrow is Sunday, and Sunday is the still point the whole week turns on. Part 7. Sunday. Sunday morning. The farm does only what cannot wait. The cow will not agree to skip her milking, and the animals must eat. But the plow stays in the shed, the wash pot stays cold, and even the kitchen has done most of its Sunday cooking on Saturday, so that the day itself can stay quiet. Everyone dresses, not in what is newest, but in what is best, and best is a category kept carefully. A collar, a hat with a ribbon, shoes for children who have gone barefoot since April, who accept them under protest. The churches of this countryside are small and wooden and white, standing in groves of oak with the graveyard alongside, generations of the family within sight of the pew where the family sits. Church is the great gathering of the week, and it is more than a service. It is the school board and the newspaper and the safety net, all under one roof. When a man is sick at planting time, it is the church that shows up in his field with 6 plows. When a family burns out, it is the church that rebuilds them. The service is long, and no one is in a hurry. The singing is the part everyone carries home. Old hymns raised without accompaniment or with one upright piano, in close, worn harmony, the sound rolling out the open windows into the oak shade where the horses stand switching flies. And on the sea islands and in the Gullah settlements, praise houses hold their own meetings, small, plain buildings, some hardly bigger than a room, where the community gathers in the evenings for prayer and song, and where, late at night, the singing turns to the ring shout, the counterclockwise moving circle of song and clap and stamp, a form of worship older than the country itself, carried across the ocean and kept alive here on this coast, in these little wooden rooms, by these families. when it had been lost nearly everywhere else in America. Sunday afternoon is for visiting. Kin drive over from the next settlement, and dinner stretches to hold them. And the grown people sit in the shade and talk while the children run the yard. And the afternoon goes by at the pace of a broad, slow river. And it should be said, gently and honestly, because this is a true account, that this world of church and porch and field ran along lines of separation. The 1890s in South Carolina were the years when segregation was being written formally into law, and black and white families, who worked land side by side and knew one another's names and troubles, lived under rules, written and unwritten, that kept their worlds apart, in the churches, in the schools, at the depot, at the polls. The warmth in this story was real. So was the injustice. Both are part of what everyday life really was. The sun goes down on Sunday the way it goes down on every day here, hugely and slowly, out over the pines and the marsh, and the week begins again. Part 8. The work of the seasons. Step back now and see the year whole, because a farm does not live by days. It lives by seasons, and each one has its own labor and its own reward. Winter is hog-killing time. On the first hard cold snap, a whole neighborhood affair of scalding kettles and sausage grinding and the smokehouse filling up. The one time of year when fresh meat is everywhere and generosity is the rule, because a hog cannot be kept, and so it is shared. Winter is oyster roasts and cane syrup on everything, and mending harness by the fire, and the men off in the pine woods cutting timber or dipping turpentine for cash money. Spring is plowing. The whole country turned over behind mules, the smell of broken ground everywhere, and planting by the signs, and by the almanac, and by knowledge in the hands. On the truck farms nearer the rail lines, spring means the vegetable harvest bound for the northern cities, cabbages and beans and early potatoes iced down in rail cars. This coast feeding New York before New York's own ground has thawed. Summer is the long green tunnel of cultivation, chopping cotton, pulling fodder, the garden coming in faster than it can be eaten, canning over the wood stove in the worst of the heat, revival meetings at the church in August when the crops are laid by, and the whole community has, for once, the time to gather every single night for a week. And fall. Fall is the payoff and the reckoning. Cotton picking, every hand in the field, the long sacks dragging down the rows, the wagons creaking to the gin, and then the settling up at the gin, at the store, the ledger balanced or not balanced, the year judged in a column of figures. A good year means shoes all around, cloth for winter clothes, maybe a new stove, maybe a little put by. A bad year means the debt rides forward, and the family tightens, and endures, and plants again. That is the shape of it. Not an easy life. Nobody in it would tell you it was easy, but a life with a shape, and the shape had a meaning, and the meaning was carried in every season by the same things. Land, kin, water, faith, and work done well because everyone would see it. Part 9. Evening. And now the day we began before sunrise is ending. So let's go back to the farmhouse, one last time, and watch it close. The light goes long and gold across the yard. The heat lets go of the land at last, and the evening breeze comes up off the water, and the whole country breathes out. The stock get fed and watered. The cow is milked again. The chickens put themselves to bed, filing up their ramp into the coop with the self-importance of chickens everywhere, and someone drops the door behind them against the foxes. Supper is a quiet meal, lighter than dinner. Leftover cornbread crumbled in cold buttermilk, eaten from a glass with a spoon, which sounds humble and is, and which men who live this life would dream about fondly for the rest of their days. The dishes are washed in water heated on the stove, dried, put up, and then the family does what every family in this country does on a summer evening. They go out on the porch and they sit down. The dark comes up out of the woods slowly. The first stars show over the pines. Down toward the branch, the frogs are in full voice now, thousands of them, and the whippoorwill starts, and the lightning bugs rise up out of the grass, drifting and blinking, and the children chase them across the yard, catching them in cupped hands, in a ritual so old and so unchanged that you did it too, 100 years later, without knowing you were repeating anything. Somebody's chair creaks. Somebody hums. The talk gets slower and softer and farther apart, the way talk does when nothing needs saying. Away down the road, a single point of warm light shows through the trees, the neighbor's lamp in the window, and it means what a porch light has always meant in this country. Somebody is home. All is well. Inside, the lamps are blown out one by one, each with its little breath of kerosene smell. The house ticks and settles. Through every open window, the sound of the summer night pours in like water, frogs and insects and the far-off owl. The same sounds, note for note, that this land had made every summer night for 10,000 years before this family, and would make every summer night after them. The farmer lies down in the dark. His body aches in the usual places. His mind walks the rows of his cotton one more time, checks the sky one more time out of habit, and lets it all go. Tomorrow will begin before the sun, with fire and water and the mule and the tide moving in the marsh whether anyone is watching or not. He sleeps, and so does the whole Lowcountry, farmhouse by farmhouse, island by island, under the enormous dark, with the salt creek shining faintly at the bottom of the marsh, rising very slowly on the flood. Closing. That was one day and 1 year in the South Carolina Lowcountry of the 1890s, as truly as it can be told this far downstream. The people in this story are gone now, but not entirely. Their houses still stand here and they're back in the trees. Their baskets are still sewn. Their hymns are still sung. And their creeks still fill and empty twice a day, on schedule, the oldest clock there is. Thank you for spending this night with Porchlight History. The music will carry on from here, so there's no need to reach for anything. If these quiet histories help you rest, the channel will be here tomorrow night, and the porch light will be on. Sleep well. Good night.